Hello and welcome back to Pump with Purpose. So I am back. I realize it's been a while since I did a full breast pump review. So I am back to talk about one of my favorite pumps. This is my all-around favorite pump for multiple reasons that I will talk about. And so just to let you know a little bit about, in full disclosure, my journey. So at first I always use hospital grade pumps. My first journey was 9 months and I had enough milk to last until my oldest was 12 months. And so I used the hospital grade pump. So then when I started my second journey, I used the hospital grade pump all the way up until a year. And having two little ones, my youngest started walking around 9 months as well, like my oldest. And so I had two little ones everywhere. And I realized I could not be as mobile as I wanted, to be chained to the wall. And so it just was not practical anymore. So I was given the S2, which I will do a full review on that and talk about the differences. But I was given that through insurance. And so I started using it. And the whole time I was always nervous that I was going to start using just a personal hospital strength pump, personal pump like the Spectra, and I was going to see a decrease in supply. So I never wanted to use it. But it becomes a point when practical outweighs, being nervous about losing supply, because if I'm not able to pump and get through a full session, I was going to see a decrease anyway. So I pulled out the S2 and I loved it, but it was just not as mobile as I wanted. And so I'll do a full review on that and talk about the differences. But I decided to buy the S1. It's rechargeable, so it does not need to be plugged to a wall to work. And it was a big benefit. On average, the S2 and the S1 are comparable. The S1 usually costs about $50 more on Amazon from what I've seen. And so if you are given the opportunity to buy from insurance, you get the S1 as an upgrade it. Or if you have to buy it and you're deciding between the S2 and the S1, the ability to be mobile is priceless, period, in my opinion. And so I also bought the S1, with the S2, which was given to me by insurance. And so I will talk a little bit about it. So this is the S1, and one con already as I'm looking at it, one of my pet peeves is it only has one spot for a bottle. What are you gonna do with that? So I use it to hold my nipple cream. So that is what I use it for. It goes with me everywhere. I don't ever have to worry where my nipple cream is because it is in this little area. So let's talk about the pump itself. So this is the tubing. So the tubing just goes in. You can single pump. It can be a little bit more stronger. If you want a single pump, you just use this to close one of the holes. But I usually double pump. So I have both tubes in the actual area that it needs to go in. And so I will assemble it for you. So to talk a little bit about the flanges. And so Spectra has its own flanges, of course. I'm a firm believer in having multiple flanges. So if you don't want to buy extra parts of Spectra, you can get different versions on Amazon as well. So Spectra does make its own as well, but I think if you need extra parts, you can also buy on Amazon too. So this is the duckbill that goes with it. And you just snap it on the bottom here. And these are the Spectra bottles. So I'm also a firm believer in pumping and feeding from the same bottle if possible. So I always recommend, if the bottle pump for the pumps you're using has an ability to have a nipple and a top, try that first, because it saves so much time in order to pump and feed from the same bottles. And so this is it all assembled. And so let's talk about the backflow protectors and making sure these are assembled properly. And so the backflow protectors, it goes on the smaller one. So you see there's a difference in sizing. And so it goes on the smaller one, and you just snap it on like this. Make sure it's snapped all around. and then you close it up with the bigger one. And that is one backflow protector assembled. I will do the same thing. So you see two different sizes here. So you put the piece on here and you go around. So personally for me, there are different things you can do with backflow protectors. People do different things. I recommend air drying them between sessions. So you just open it up and take it apart and let it air dry. If that is not feasible for you, before you start your next pumping session, just open it up and dry it off with a clean paper towel, clean washcloth, just to get throughout the pumping, condensation or milk will go inside and get on the silicone piece. So it's always great to make sure that it is dry before you use to have the optimal suction. So this is assembled again, and you just stick it on the back of the flange, just like this. There's a smaller side here, and then the larger side is here. So the larger of the two pieces, you can see the difference. That one, this side here is larger and this side is smaller. The larger side goes on to the back of the flange. And so then you take the tubing here and then you just stick it on the smaller side of the backflow protector. So this is it, all assembled. You are ready to go. So I will put this to the side and actually talk about the pump. So this is the pump itself. I cannot express. There is a vibrating type of motion that is just unparalleled. I respond really well to the vibration, and when I turn on the pump, you will see that you can kind of hear the vibration in it. And so this is it on, and when I start personally, I start in what they call bacon mode. So there is a button here that looks like bacon. It is the massage mode, so it helps to get the letdown going. And so you press that when I first start, and it is in massage mode now. And so it goes from 1 to 5. You just can start at 1, and as you start using it, you will realize like what level you can start at. You don't have to start at 1. So when I start at level 4 because that's my tolerance when I start. But when I first started using the pump, I started at level 1 and worked my way to level 5. I keep it in bacon mode for about 2 to 3 minutes or until I get a letdown. And so unless I forget, it's not horrible if you leave it in bacon mode. Some people keep it in that mode the whole time. They respond better to a faster suction. So it's nothing wrong if you leave it in, but I do, once I get my first letdown, switch over to expression mode. And so you just hit the bacon button again, and you will hear this ranges from 38, cycle 38 to 54. And then the vacuum side goes all the way from 1 to 12 here. And you can see this is 54 and 12. So the best thing to do, and if you look online, you will see different ways to make the Spectra more effective, and it's person dependent. So it's okay when you start out that you don't find the most optimal suction to start with. So I usually start on 54, and you can start all the way to level 1 if you want. The ideal thing, some people think that, oh, I need to go to the highest suction that I can handle. That is not always ideal. It is best to be comfortable. You don't want to be cringing every time it sucks. You don't want to be nervous about plugging up to it. If you feel that way, your suction is too high. You're going to end up possibly with nipple damage, trauma to your nipples. You can end up having, just issues with nipple pain if you have your suction up too high. And sometimes if I have a clog, I'll go up, but I know that after 2 times of pumping in a more uncomfortable suction, I need to go back down or my nipples will start hurting. So I highly recommend to find your comfort level. Starting at 54, working your way up. I respond personally to higher suction. That is not everyone. That is not always the best. Some like to go down on the suction, on the cycle, and up on the vacuum. So you go down to level 50 and then you go up to level 5. And then you go down to level 46 and up to level 6 and down to level 42 and up to level 7. You really have to play with the Spectra. I like it because it can be easily customized. Not all pumps have that ability. So I highly recommend playing around with it. Feel free to book a session with me if you want to talk through the best ideal ways to use the Spectra that works best for you, comfort level, and just making sure you get the most milk output as possible. So again, this is the Spectra. It does have a backlight feature, so it lights up as well. So in the middle of the night, it has 2 levels. So this is off, this is level 1, and this is the brightest at level 2. So it is great for not disturbing anyone. You can light it up, hook up, close it, cut the light back off, and not have any interruption in your sleep. The night light is so serene, peaceful. It's not going to be bright, shining, or anything like that. And it does have the ability to be turned off after you get hooked up and get everything that you need to get done. And so as far as how to care for this, making sure that you clean your parts. I do buy extra parts. That's how I survive in my pumping journey. I do not put the silicone pieces in the dishwasher. I just find that they last longer for me if I keep them hand washed. So the white pieces, I hand wash them and do not put in the dishwasher. That is just me personally. I sterilize if needed, when needed, as well, all of the pieces except the silicone pieces. And so this pump works really well for me. I highly recommend it if you have insurance and you're stuck between pumps and not sure. This is my ideal go-to pump. I love that it does not have to be charged to a wall to work. It can be. Also recommend not overcharging it. So only charge when needed and take it off the charger when it is done its charging. Do not leave it charged up past that. It can damage the battery. So I love the S1. It is my go-to pump again. And I just hope you all enjoyed this full review of the Spectra S1. Until next time, we'll pump with purpose.